because nobody else was there for labs. Let's face it, I could see it in their face. They didn't have to pee. So like
You could tell. You could tell.
Yeah.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
Everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott. Yeah, everybody is simulating riding horses right now.
Yes, we were. If you could see us now.
Mm-hmm. And for music video sins, Barrett Share.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the chicken in Moana? Is it Hey?
Hey. Yeah.
Hey. It's Tuk Tuk and Alan Tudyk plays Tuk Tuk and something else, right?
He plays Hey, Tuk Tuk, and Goo Goo. I made that one up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I made that one up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Well, so it's I don't know how long it's been actually when this one comes out, because this one comes out like in 2 weeks. But since the last time we ranted, surely one of you have something you're very, very angry about.
Absolutely.
If you want to give a rant and you want to let somebody have it.
I'm as mad as hell. You're out of order.
You've never seen me very upset.
I'll tell you what. I'll start.
Ooh, he must have a good one.
Recently, I've had to go to lots of doctors for various reasons. Don't worry about me. It's not a big deal, but a lot of different things. Just a lot of different things. And so I went to an appointment. It was just a lab day. I was gonna have my blood taken, have my pee did, and.
I'm gonna go get my pee did.
Have my pee did.
And so it was a lab day and wasn't a big deal. I took a pill the previous night, and then at 8:00 I was to show up and do the labs and everything. I went up to this doctor's office, and there were 5 people waiting outside the doors. And so I was like, oh, okay, so it must be locked. And I was like, oh, it's, I think everything that I've looked at says it opens at 8. It was 7:45 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there like, all right, I'll mess around on my phone for a bit, and we'll wait, and they'll open up and everything, and they'll tell us when you come inside. And then somebody walks in. We're all waiting out there probably 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. It's like 7:53, 7:54, somewhere around there. Somebody walks up from the elevator, goes right in, walks in, opens the door, goes right in. And then somebody from the doctor's office comes out and tells us, this place has been open since 7:30. Why are you guys all standing out here?
Oh,
and I'm sitting there for a second going, okay, I guess we're all dumb. I guess we're all stupid here, because we all took the word or we all followed suit when we saw the people in front not going in and everything like that. My problem is, if you work at this doctor's office and you see people outside standing,
it's glass. I assume,
it's glass.
Right? Okay.
It's glass. There's no way you didn't see this happening outside. You saw that. You fucking saw that. But you didn't get up from your goddamn chair and walk 10 feet and say, you know what? We are in actuality open. I'm so sorry that you guys have been standing out here. None of that shit.
Looking at them like, hey, they're still out there.
None of that shit.
It's amazing.
It's kind of like, the reason why I'm standing out there with the rest of the people is kind of like that Key and Peele sketch, right? Where the guy says, I hit the button for the walk sign or whatever. He's like, don't worry about it. I hit it. You're telling that guy, don't hit the button because I hit the button. and then the walk sign doesn't come up or whatever, like it fucks up or whatever. But the whole sketch is like, don't worry about it, don't hit it because I hit it.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You don't want to make someone look stupid by just walking past them and going, it seems open. I don't know.
Are you okay? Yes. There's a razor's edge there of like, all right, 5-6 people out here. If you walk up to that door with these people gathered out there without saying anything, just go up and you just open the door and say it opens, or say, God forbid, it's still locked. You are an asshole in that situation.
Yeah.
Because
you're saying that the other people didn't try that and they're dicks for not doing it.
Yeah. They clearly did not try the door to get into it.
Yeah.
Then, the other side of the razor's edge is that there's a group think happening. First person went up there, and maybe it was locked when that person went up there, and then that person turned around, maybe Chica unlocked the door or whatever. Okay. And then that person standing, and then next person, they just assume, right? Now, and so, that's the other side of it where it's like, has anybody tried this? Maybe some communication between those people before you get there, that kind of thing, which could solve everything. But still, in your position, at that level of crowd outside of that door, for you to walk up, for you to do what that dude did from the elevator, and not say anything, just walk the fuck right in. It's a dick move.
That was a super dick move on his part. I mean, I was shocked. Like,
it wasn't a wrong move, but it was a dick move.
He just randomly just said, I see 6 people waiting outside here, but I'm going to walk right past them and through the door and then get, I mean, that person obviously knew they opened at 7:30. I didn't, because I looked at the thing and it said 8 a.m. is when it opened. So I was like, all right, whatever. Now, it gets worse.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I go in, I check in, and I'm like, I'm here for the labs. And they're like, I got you down. All right, cool. Got you down.
We're going to did you pee.
I sat down, waited for my name to be called.
Oh, no.
Saw as 3 or 4 other people got called before me, which is fine. Not a big deal.
Oh, no.
8:30 rolls around.
Fuck me.
I get up. I go to the counter. I say, and someone new is behind the counter, and she goes, have you been checked in? I said, yes, I have been checked in, but I've been here for 40 minutes and no one has said my name, and I'm just here for labs. And she goes, oh, you're just here for labs? Goes in the back, talks to somebody, another 5-10 minutes goes by, and the person finally is ready for me. Probably just been sitting back there drinking coffee and gossiping and all this shit this whole time, because nobody else was there for labs. Let's face it, I could see it in their face. They didn't have to pee. So like
you can tell.
Can just tell. So yeah, I finally got that done. And yeah, I went to my primary doctor who suggested this, and I'm not judging the doctor on this one experience. It could be a bad staff thing, could be a bad day, whatever.
Sure.
We'll see the next time I go if there's any kind of problem. I know now not to fucking wait outside if that happens, but if I get that whole like waiting in the office for, waiting in the waiting room for 45 minutes, whatever. But I told my primary care doctor though the same day, because I went to go in some more checkup shit. Told her about this experience, and she went and talked to that. She called that doctor. And
awesome. Awesome.
Told her that I had a bad experience and everything. So that was a good thing. I'm one of these types that you have to kind of screw up in a major way, like more than once before I start yelling. But yeah, if that had happened, the next time I go there and something like that happens, yeah, I'm gonna make a fucking scene in that waiting room. This is the way it is.
I need to pee.
Yeah, exactly.
My doctor's office is weird. This is probably standard procedure, but it always strikes me as weird. I'll go for like a physical or regular checkup, but sometimes they need to check labs for one thing or another that they're checking, tracking.
Mhm.
And so the doctor will finish with me and then send me back out to the waiting room. And then another person will come out and call me back for labs like 2 minutes later. It's like the
Mhm.
labs is like a whole separate part of that sort of makes sense to me. Why once she realized, oh, you were just here for labs, you probably could have gotten in 5 minutes after you got there if they really realized that.
Yeah.
Dicks.
All right, well, I'm about to make sure that a national brand never becomes a sponsor of the SinCast.
All right.
And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying this is every bit a first world problem rant. I am not trying to say the suffering I endured is in any way actual suffering. This company is named Schmunkin' Schmonuts.
Yes. There's 2 on every block where I live.
Yes. Now listen. In the morning, when the pandemic hit, I stopped going anywhere for till I got vaccinated. And then I started some of my routines again, which is, I've got a Starbucks a couple miles one direction. I've got a Dunkin' a couple miles one direction. And I usually, in a supermarket near each, and I usually go out every morning, grab a tea or a coffee, something for the wife and some bananas or something to the store and come home. Now, Dunkin' has this app that when I first used it pre-pandemic, I just used it to pay. Because when you pay through the app, you load money onto the app. Then when you pay through the app, you earn free drinks every now and then, what have you. It's also faster because you just stick your app under this QR code reader and you're paid. Well, post-pandemic, I didn't really want to talk to people. So I started using the app to order. And listen, they want me to use the app to order. There are faster free drinks when you order through the app. There are items that you can only find on the app that aren't even on the menu at the store. They have double points days. They want me using that fucking app. So I started using the app to order. And it's glorious, right? You walk in, your drinks are sitting right there with a receipt taped on them. Grab, go. Nobody has to say anything. I mean, maybe a thank you, okay? But about 3 months ago, Dunkin' closed their tables inside and had a big sandwich board outside that says drive-through only. But then on the door, there's a piece of paper that says drive-through only or walk in if mobile order. So you could walk in and then they had it roped off where the tables used to be, but you could still grab your drink with your receipt and go. This is, I am certain, due to what is a common problem everywhere, having a hard time finding employees. I don't think this is a pandemic-related thing at all because they ain't wearing masks in there. This is, we don't have enough people, so we are funneling everybody through the drive-through so that 2 or 3 people can handle the orders because we don't have 6. Yeah. This is largely because I'm assuming Dunkin' as a national brand refuses to pay a living wage. That is not what this rant is about, although it really is. So I've been doing this for 2-3 months. And then last Monday, 9 days ago, as of the recording of this podcast, I order a drink for myself and a drink for my wife. And I pay. This is what you do. You order and you pay. This Dunkin' is 1.5 miles. So I do it before I leave the house. I order and pay, get in the car and start driving. Only when I get there and walk up to the door, that piece of paper is gone and the door is goddamn locked. And the sandwich board that says drive-through only is moved much closer to the door. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. So I get in my car and I drive around the strip mall. There are 30 goddamn cars in line stretched out around the street.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm like, well, this isn't worth it. So I drive back around to the front and I walk up to the window and I point to the app and I say, how do I get a refund? And she just jerks her finger and points at the drive-through. And I was like, there's 30 cars back there. I just want a refund. And she points her finger and jerks back at the drive-through. And so now I'm like, okay, I have to sit in a line of 30 cars. That's easily going to be 30 minutes if you do a minute per car, which you will not, to get my drinks or my $6.65. So I'm livid. Now, granted, in her defense, she's probably having the shittiest day of her life. There were only 2 people inside. They've clearly made this decision because, yet again, they have even fewer staff. And so now walk-ins for mobile orders have been canceled, and you can only pick them up through the drive-thru. And she probably doesn't need some entitled guy walking up to the window like, out of all the customers, you should talk to me at the window like I'm special. So I don't want to make her the villain of this story. But at this point, I'm not going to sit in that fucking line. So I go home, and I get on the Dunkin' website, and I find a contact form, and I send a message. Basically, here's my order number, here's my customer ID, here's what happened. By the way, why isn't there a place on the app when I order that says this store is drive-thru only? Because when I place an order, it says, how do you want to pick it up? Walk-in or drive-thru? I have to hit a button for walk-in. Just disable that button when the store is so understaffed, so I don't spend the money and the time driving out there only to find there's a line longer than some funny joke I can't think of.
They're probably so understaffed that they don't even have somebody who can press the button that that makes the app do what it needs them to do.
So then I get a reply from J.B. Smucker or J.M. Smucker, whatever the
J.B. Duncan.
Says, hello, customer. We proudly manufacture, package, and sell the retail version of Dunkin's products. But you must have used the wrong contact form, and you need this contact form. This is 24 hours later.
Jesus.
Oh, no.
So at this point, I'm not angry anymore. It's $6.65. It's kind of about the principle about this thing. I'm not going to let this go. So I fill out the correct contact form with the same exact message, all the information.
I love that you do this, by the way.
And they can't just forward it to the right fucking thing. I mean,
I guess not. I'm not being a dick. I'm not cussing in this message. I'm not being like a Karen. So 24 hours after that, this is now Wednesday, I get a message back from the correct Dunkin' marketing team that says, I can't give you a refund unless I see a screenshot of your receipt. And I wanted to say, motherfucker, you have access to the back end code of this app.
Yeah.
I gave you my ID number. You are the receipt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I take a goddamn screenshot with my phone. I have to do 2 because the receipt is so long.
Hold on. You are continuing down this fight.
Yes.
You have not given. This is $6.
Not only $6.
You have now gone back and forth between the fucking incident, then back and forth again.
Yes.
And then come home, filled out a contact form, filled out another contact form, had a conversation with this person. Now you are continuing on with the screenshot.
Yes.
Holy
I send
God.
the screenshots. I say my screenshots are attached. But honestly, I do not care about the money as much as I care about you enabling the app to help me avoid this ever happening again. And I have not been back to Dunkin' since.
There you go. There you go.
Lost why would I? Not only do I have a Starbucks nearby and another Starbucks on the other side of that Dunkin', I found 2 other nearby, like local-owned coffee shops. Fuck you, Dunkin', and your stupid 30-car line, drive-through only because we only pay $8 an hour, asshole dick faces.
Right, dude. I always wondered about that. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't go to any of these establishments. But I used to drive past that Starbucks that's on West End, and in the morning, and I can't remember a reason why. Maybe I was walking. I think it may have been walking past it or something. And you walk. You walk past the Starbucks and it's like people are out in the fucking street to get Starbucks. And I'm like, it can't be that good and important. It can't be to be in that line. Like, it's the old Hannibal Buress thing where he's talking about like, there's a deal for Black Friday or whatever. And it's like, but the deal is only at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something. It's like, well, the 5 o'clock negates the deal.
Exactly.
And to me, it's like, it doesn't matter how delicious that coffee is or like how important it is to your day. Sitting in that line actually on the street of West End to get your coffee can't fucking possibly be worth it.
Nope. No. No.
Nope.
I mean, you can understand it. Like, we've all been to the Nashville airport where there's that centrally located Starbucks that everybody, any time of day, besides, especially between like 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., that place is fucking packed out both sides, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to come in, one side, but it's both sides. I understand you're a captive audience at that point. Yeah, you could go to Hudson Hawk or Hudson fucking News or whatever it is and get like a jar of, I don't know, Mountain Dew or something like that. A jar of Mountain Dew?
Jar of Mountain Dew.
Comes in mason jars.
We sell them in jars around here. But everybody goes to the Starbucks. Like, you're a captive audience there. Where the fuck else are you going to go? But yeah, if you're standing in line in the middle of a city in which there's 9 other Starbuckses or coffee shops of other ilks around, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No.
I
got my own problems with the double D, but I'm not gonna hang my hat on that because you covered a lot there with
I mean,
Duncan.
I will eventually go back, I'm sure. My family's about to be here for Thanksgiving and they all love Dunkin' Donuts. But
yeah.
I'm going to say I'm not going with you, and you are going to sit in a long line because I drive by that Dunkin' every other day, and it's still only drive-through.
Yeah.
So why? Why would I do that?
Oh, I don't like the position that everyone, including and especially the employees, are put in these days with food service in general when it comes to restaurants, especially fast food, because they have to put up with the same assholery, not you, but the same assholery that they've always put up with, just with 90% fewer staff. And with no increase in their wages, and with all this mobile shit going on and everything. And God bless them, the ones that are still doing it. I mean,
this is
God bless you.
It's so dumb. They're right next to McDonald's, who pays, I think, I don't know, they pay above minimum wage to start, and then they're right in front of a Publix, and they pay like $13-14 an hour. So of course nobody's going to work for your ass.
This is something, of course, that was happening pre-pandemic. It's just now exacerbated. But was my argument always too about the Hollywood 27 that we used to work at, Jeremy. Like when I got there and when you were there, they were still opening 3 or 4 stands, but I think they stopped somewhere within the next year or so, claiming it wasn't worth it. And I'm like sitting there going, how much do you pay these people that you sell all this stuff that's way overpriced, that it's not worth it? Like,
I didn't make anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 4 people in a stand and you're paying them, which at the time was like, I think $5 or $6 an hour or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's an hour. Like, let's say all 4 of those employees worked all day, which is 12 or 13 hours or something like that. You're paying them $65 each for a total of $260 a day. And you sell a number of fucking items back there that are like more than their hours work per item. And you telling me that you can't. And so like they started to start knocking them out. Like they stopped opening this stand and they stopped opening this stand. And finally they even like closed off 2 of them.
The one on the long hallway where I used to be camped out, where it was like maybe 15 steps from the main one.
Yeah.
It was I don't think it was even, I'm sure it was barely at the diversion over to, what is that, 15, 16 and 17 or something like that. That little short hall down the right.
There was one between 15 and 16.
That's where I was camped. If I wasn't at the main one, that's where I was camped out.
I used to run around on the floor. They always put me in the booth or on the floor, and I would always beg the female manager, you both know who I'm talking about, at least Chris does. Why don't you open B concession? Why don't you open C concession? The lines in front are back to the box office. Like, what do you do? She only cared about labor. She only cared about keeping labor costs low. And I would say, God, I hated this woman. I would say if you have a high enough per cap, they do not give a shit what your labor cost is. If you sell enough concessions, they won't even look at the labor column.
Yeah.
And she just refused to do it. She was the reason they started shutting those down. She was the logic of it's just not worth it. But it was all about labor costs.
I just wanted to know what what ultimately, like you make that main stand your only stand, and you have regulars who come in week by week who eventually realize that those other stands are never open. So that's they're either going to go here and wait in a line, or they're not going to get concessions, or they're going to smuggle it in at this point.
Right.
And and future managers would always have the same mentality, because I know from up high, they're being told, keep your payroll at a such and such. And I always argue, open it up. It may not do well on those first couple of tries, but that's because people don't expect it to be open, and they just completely ignore it, and they just go into the main one every time. And the one way back by 15 and 16, that's where your biggest fucking movies were. How in the world is that not profitable?
And your biggest auditoriums. All three of those auditoriums were 500 seats.
That's what I said.
Oh, you said biggest movies.
Yeah, your biggest. I'm sorry. That biggest movies equal biggest auditoriums.
Yeah.
So that's where all your people are at that point. They're going to come up. They're going to get up and get something if they're there.
Smell that popcorn when they go by to use the bathroom.
And guess what? There's going to be times where they would have gotten up to get something in concessions, but decided not to, because they had to walk the length of an airport terminal to get back to this thing. So I was like, man, if you just kept it open for a long time, a sustainable amount of time, just a sustained time, just have it open. People eventually come around to that.
You can see it at the end of the hallway, like from the fucking lobby. You can see that shit is open. That was C, right?
C was the one in the middle that was between 11 and 12.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is now a bar. They have a bar set up there now.
Okay.
But
really,
yeah, they do. They have I don't know if Regal has a bar brand, kind of like how AMC does with their MacGuffins or whatever. But they I think that and Green Hills, and maybe I don't know if Opry Mills may have one.
It'll get you drunk.
Yeah, but I'm just sitting there.
That's how you get your per cap up right there. Sell alcohol.
Anyway, yeah, that nobody seems to understand that you spend money to make money, and you make the experience better by people not having to wait in humongous lines over and over.
You know who understood that?
Jesus.
I think that's it. We're done here, folks.
But it's true. Oh, that's what the parable of the talent is all about. Oh, that was a beautiful moment.
But yeah, anyway, that's I've never understood that, and it's pay your people. I mean, it's like the whole Chinatown thing, right? Like what is there out there that you can't buy, that these rich fucks who run these companies, man? Yeah. It's like the future, Mr. Getz, the future.
Anyway, my rant was actually going to be about the theater experience, which I think we pretty much covered. I was going to say that the only draw to the theater right now is the big screen and the seating itself. There are no other accoutrements, including the shuttering of things that made something like the Hollywood 27 unique. Not only the Art Deco stuff, but like how big in scope it was, how grand the lobby was, and of course the lobby is still grand, but like, seeing down there, seeing the concession right there, seeing you get the other concession, bustling things, stuff happening that, once they started cookie cuttering everything, it just doesn't make it an experience anymore. So that was my rant, but you guys covered the fun part of it, the inside baseball part of it. So yeah, I'm done. I think you guys ranted far too well.
Oh, far too well. We'll get you next time, Gadget. All right. Well, does anybody have any recommends and warns? Ooh, Jeremy does.
I have some of each. It's been a long time.
Bring it. Yeah, you're all backed up.
Just yesterday or the day before. It was the day before because my wife was in the other room when I watched it. That's not pertinent. A documentary from Showtime that just came out in November called Attica.
Attica.
Exactly. And after you watch this documentary, you may never chant like that again the same.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened has largely been lost to myth and time and lore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's viewed as a prison uprising because of the unfair treatment of the prisoners that led to better treatment of prisoners across the nation. It's so bad. It's so bad. Like
the documentary's bad or the situation?
No, the documentary's excellent. The event is so bad. That is all true, that the prisoners essentially rioted, and it was about half of the prisoners took a bunch of guards hostage and just started hanging out in the yard feeling like free men, even though there were still walls around them. There are a lot of interviews with inmates, some of whom are unapologetic, some of whom seem like they might have done things differently. Much like that 9/11 series, Chris, that you and I watched, you will see somebody old that you are seeing interviews cut from in some of this old footage of the actual interior of the prison. So they've restored and colorized and found a bunch of new footage. One of the other astounding things the prisoners did was almost immediately they invited the media in because they wanted to show that they were treating the hostages well, and that they had a list of demands. They wanted, among other things, more than one roll of toilet paper a month.
Jesus Christ.
If that gives you an idea of how they were being treated. One guy said he got his head cracked open in a fall, or maybe no, he was in a fight. So he got thrown into this holding cell with a bunch of other guys, and a guard walked by and he was like, "Hey, my head is actually split open right here. I need medical attention." And the guard leaned down and had him put his head through the opening and slammed him with his baton right on the open skull wound.
Jesus.
Like, this is a hellhole before this event. Trigger warnings abound here. I'll keep talking just so that you can understand some of them. So the prisoners are surprisingly educated and requested a panel of observers, everyone from a law professor at Harvard to a famous activist, a dozen or so people around the world. They wanted to come in and serve as observers. They ended up being basically arbiters to hear the prisoners' demands. And they had, I think, 28 demands, all of which were related to better treatment, better supplies, clean clothes, clean sheets. And the one sticking point was they wanted amnesty for this riot. They didn't want to be charged with an extra crime after this was settled for having taken hostages. Now, you can view that from a strictly moral perspective and say, well, you take hostages, there might be consequences. But I think when you watch this documentary, it's only 2 hours. It's not a docu-series. I think you will see that these were desperate people who felt they had literally no other options or they were going to die. So the sticking point is that amnesty deal. They go back and forth. It's 2 or 3 days. The Governor of New York is Rockefeller. He refuses to come down. He refuses to get involved. That's a big problem. And after about 3 days, the local cops in charge have had enough, and they decide to go in. And they never gave the inmates any food or water that they requested during the 3 days of this standoff. Anyway, they call in the National Guard. One big mistake I believe the prisoners made was to try and keep them from coming in to assault the prison. They took several of the guard hostages blindfolded to the top of the catwalk and held knives and shivs to their throats, which in my opinion only guaranteed that they were going to come in. And so once they realized that the cops and the National Guard were coming in, it was mayhem in the yard, and people were running around crazy and panicking. And the cops come in and they go to the tops of the catwalks and they just start shooting. People running to them with injuries, looking for a medic, shooting. People with their hands up on their knees, shooting. All told, I think there were 9 or more of the guard hostages that died and 20-some prisoners. They were all killed by police officer bullets. The inmates had no guns. The cops then told the media that a bunch of guards had their throats slit until the medical examiner came behind and said no. None of them did. The prisoners didn't slit any throats. So then when all is said and done, the police have control and they turn it into a concentration camp. They make them crawl through the latrine ditch that they dug during the ordeal. They make them disrobe and run around with their hands behind their heads, running in circles. They beat them, they break bones, they fracture skulls. It is all out retribution by the guards who remain. And only sometime after 2000, did the families of the guards and the families of the inmates get any financial restitution from the state. It took that long to go through the courts.
This was early 70s?
71.
Yeah.
71. So this is 4 years before I'm born, and not something I think I ever learned much about in school. I know movie references. So maybe it was my own naivete coming into this thing that made it so sobering to me. But it was a fantastic documentary. You know, I like to complain about question askers off camera. There's none of that. There's only 1 or 2 drone shots of the actual prison from modern day.
It ticks all the boxes.
I'm telling you. And it just keeps punching. And I had no idea. So from an educational standpoint and an entertainment standpoint, 2 thumbs up, full recommend. Just know you may want to look up, does the dog die? Look for the specific triggers that might bother you. There's naked prisoner men being beaten up and stuff. Like some of this footage, I don't know how they got it.
So it was educational, is essentially. It did what it was supposed to do, is to inform, correct? It wasn't necessarily, and that's your bread and butter when it comes to documentaries. Did it seem like it had an agenda? I mean, there really isn't much of an agenda to be had in a situation like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the agenda is you don't know how bad it was.
Yeah, and to be fair, by the way, when I was chanting the Attica, it was the Dog Day Afternoon chant where he was talking about those atrocities, or playing off of those atrocities that happened there.
But
even
that reference, I wasn't criticizing you for doing the chant.
Right.
That is, you're quoting the movie, but even that movie, I don't feel like necessarily is truly underlining what happened at Attica.
No, it's literally a rallying cry. I think the crowd starts it, and he just, he stokes it by just kind of saying something tangentially, has nothing to do with the fucking robbery that he's doing, besides maybe getting supplies for the hostages in a similar way, right? But it's apples and oranges.
So this is brand new. You can watch it on Hulu with a premium subscription. It's also on Showtime. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 98%.
I'm down.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch this.
Yeah.
This is on HBO, you said?
Showtime.
Showtime. All right.
And Hulu.
Showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to recommend The French Dispatch.
Ooh, Wesley Anderson.
Yes, Wes Anderson, who is, I guess, is he polarizing? I'm not sure if he is. I don't know. I think there's a stigma about him.
It's shorthand. It's shorthand for being too precious. And I think it's unfair, to be honest.
I think it is too. I think the thing about him is that he is really, really good at like details, especially all in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those always add to the world that he's presenting.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got a way about it. You know, it's a very there's a reason why there's been a lot of Wes Anderson parodies out there.
Yeah.
But the French I wasn't really looking that forward to this movie. I don't know why. I don't think the trailers did too much for me, but I'm going to watch a Wes Anderson movie if it comes out. And this is a movie that has 3 different stories involving 3 different writers for this what we know as a now defunct newspaper known as the French Dispatch. And I don't know, I didn't quite catch how the whole thing works. It's an outfit in Kansas, and these writers have gone to France and they come back and report to this newspaper or something like that. It's something of that nature. And the writers, Owen Wilson plays a writer, Frances McDormand plays a writer, and Jeffrey Wright plays a writer. And so there's 3 different stories. It's kind of an anthology type of thing, you know. The first one is about a prisoner who does these paintings of a lovely guard played by Lea Seydoux. In it, Benicio del Toro is the prisoner.
Ooh.
And she's posing naked for him, and he is doing these paintings that don't really have any nudity at all in them, but they are considered masterpieces. And Adrian Brody is the guy who wants to sell these paintings. Of course, has to go through a lot of red tape to get Benicio del Toro's paintings out of prison and get profits off them and everything. That story is wonderful in almost every way, like a really great. There's like a mini start to this where the Owen Wilson in the beginning, it's kind of a prologue or preface or whatever, and then it goes into this one, and it's really good. And then there's another one right after that, the Frances McDormand one, where she's covering a revolution. And Timothy Chalamet is in this as one of the revolutionaries. And he and Frances McDormand are involved together. And Frances McDormand has to go through all this, like, well, should I be writing about this if I'm going to be sleeping with one of the main people that's in this story? And then there is a wealthy person's kid is kidnapped, and they have to use a world-renowned chef to get inside and to try to infiltrate where the kidnappers are. Really interesting story. And of course, yes, all the Wes Anderson hallmarks in there. I have a feeling that this is one of those movies that you're going to notice new stuff every time you watch it. It's one of those where there's so much detail and everything. And it's like every one of his movies, right? Like all of his movies have this certain world about it. And every frame have these details where you're just like, geez, you really went balls to the wall on all this. How do you even, I mean, is it you, or is it just a team of people who are just like, let's add this little thing to the frame because, you know, that would be nice, you know, like and you know, of course they're all like real funny and whimsical, and you know, French Dispatch is a wonderful movie. There's one detraction to this. I don't know if I cared too much about the revolution story too much, and that I know that he's aiming for a certain conclusion in that story, but I felt myself not caring too much about that one, and each one has its own like little lulls, but for the most part, this is a very fun, entertaining movie, and it's well worth the critical acclaim that it's getting. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Good things. Boy, Frances McDormand getting it with
Yeah, man.
Chalamet, huh?
That's
Actually, I read an interview with her where she and the director completely disagreed on whether or not her character and Chalamet's character had a sexual relationship. McDormand was adamant that they did not, but the director was adamant that they did.
Well, that's interesting because, well, they don't act. Of course, they don't show them like hammering away at each other or anything like that.
He uses a peach.
That's right. That's right. He uses a peach, indeed. But she is sleeping with him, and she is in her writings conscious of the fact that she's involved with the guy. But I could see her way. Though. She could be in one of those type of things where it's still too close, but it's not sexual. It's not sexual either.
What is the gay age gap there? She's in her 50s, right?
I think she's in her 60s by now.
Really?
Because in Fargo she was 35, maybe somewhere around there. I bet she's like right at 60.
Okay, and I'm looking up Frances right now.
Okay.
Chalamet's what? 24?
24. She is 64.
64.
Yow.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I mean, good for her. Get after that.
Dennis Quaid style age gap there.
Tap that ass.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah. There were moments where I was like, I don't really. This story's not really doing it for me. But I mean, even when the story's not doing it for you, the actors are doing something that's awesome, or there's some details that he throws in the screen. It's really fun. So
this has all of the regular guys, right? Like Billy Murray's in this, and
Bill Murray plays the editor of the French Dispatch, who loves all of his writers. He indulges his writers, and his writers follow suit because they totally take advantage of that fact. One of the writers, I think Frances McDormand, comes in and turns in her story, and they go through the expenses, and he's like, is there any reason why you had to get to take out this like really expensive hotel room in the north of France or whatever? And she said, well, how else was I supposed to write this story, or something. So there's this whole thing where there's an accountant sitting there going through all the expenses, and it's like some insane amount of money to but yeah, there's a whole bunch of people in here. Elizabeth Moss shows up as one of the French Dispatch workers. She's not in it very long, just in pieces. Same as Bill Murray. Anytime it's the actual French Dispatch building, none of those characters are like in it for very long. But it's a fun movie.
Nice,
nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that guy's stuff. The last few movies, it's been Moonrise Kingdom, it's been Grand Budapest, it's been Isle of Dogs, and it's been this, right? And Isle of Dogs I didn't think was up to the par of those previous two, but I find myself liking it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to check this one out. I'm going to recommend too. We're all recommending. It's all positivity.
That's right.
Here,
Very
baby.
positive.
Oh, I could bring us down next round.
Nice.
Oh, yeah? All right.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to recommend this. It's a short film, folks. It's a short film.
Short film.
It's also, one could say, a music video.
Ooh, it's a music video.
Oh, it's T Swifty.
You know what? Why you got to steal my fucking thunder like that?
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Why don't you
can
introduce the
edit it
goddamn
out.
piece?
Nobody ever has to know.
I'm kidding. No, this is Taylor Swift's All Too Well short film. This is labeled as a short film. It was marketed as a short film. It's on YouTube, so it's not like you have to go to a festival or whatever the fuck to see it. Taylor herself wrote and directed it, and of course wrote the song and sung the song, and she appears in that. She's doing everything, folks.
Mhm.
Taylor's doing everything. Of course, you've heard everything Taylor these days because she's re-releasing her famous Red album, her version. I love what she's doing, the mentality behind this of re-recording her masters so that they are her own
And it's
content.
working.
It's working like a motherfucking charm.
Because the TikTok people are using the new versions, and advertisers are using the new versions, and Universal ain't making shit.
Listen, and you could say, having not, I listened to 1989 religiously. That has not come out, her version, but I'm not as familiar with Speak Now and Red and Fearless as their original Inception. Listening to these side by side, I like the new version better. I understand if you've grown up with for 15 years or whatever it is on listening to the original version of Red, you may like this better. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. All Too Well is a song that I had never heard of. Okay, there's a lot of Taylor Swift songs that I haven't heard of. Okay, she's got a massive catalog. All Too Well apparently has become this concert staple. It's become legend. It's become like for Swifties, they love this fucking song. It is the everybody says if you ask what the best song from Pavement is, they say Grounded, right? Okay, that's the only consensus that those fucking hipsters have on anything is that Grounded is the best Pavement song of all time. Every Swiftie, yeah, that's right. I compared Pavement to Taylor Swift.
Yes, you
Every
did.
Swiftie out there says that All Too Well is her best song. It's her magnum opus, right? And good song.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt when I listened to
Good
it.
song. It's a good
It's
song.
all
She recorded a 10-minute version of All Too Well for the album, and perfectly fine. When you listen to it prima facie, you listen to it on the face of it, good song, about a breakup, young love, things go awry. Okay. We've been down this road with Taylor before, right? Okay. So you watch the short film, you watch the music video. I'll call it a music video. It's called a short film. And it's a narrative thing where two young people fall in love and they have their romance. They have their coming together of souls and everything. And then the first crack in the window. It's literally subtitled like this: the first crack, and there's the little friction there. But they're cool. And then things go downhill further, and they're not cool. And then they break up, and then they're further not cool. Okay. All right, so it's familiar ground. The video itself, the short film, the music video, stars Dylan O'Brien, who is in that the Warm Bodies movie, right? Wasn't he in that?
Maze Runner is his big thing.
Maze Runner, one of those young adult things.
Mm-hmm. Warm Bodies was Nicholas Hoult.
Oh. Well,
yes, it was.
Anyway, Dylan O'Brien is dreamy. He's got a beard and a beanie in this thing. And the Taylor representative is played by Sadie Sink, who a lot of people would know as Max in Stranger Things.
Yep.
Except for Jeremy, because he's never seen Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I'm convinced you never will. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. It's like Love Actually. You're never going to do it.
Right.
Love Actually is an intentional decision.
Yeah, anyway,
There's a difference.
Sadie Sink is a terrific actor. And Dylan O'Brien, yeah, fun in what he's called on to do here. And what he's called on to do here is to play Jake Gyllenhaal. And so after this came out, it's a pretty standard thing. Just what I described, young love, everybody together. There's a 9-year gap or 10-year gap between the two of them. She feels weird because she's like 20 years old. He's like 30 years old, and his friends are all weird. Like they're leaving her out because she's young, and then he's got other stuff going on, and they break up. And okay, fine, it happens to us all. We've all done that, right? But apparently,
all dated Jake Gyllenhaal.
We've all
That's
dated.
true.
Hey, at this point, I have to check. The
Every
rings on
one
my
of these
dick,
guys,
like a
by the
tree.
way, every one of these guys had their Nashville moment, right? Like, because she would always bring them out here, and there was always like, they always had, and it always felt like after they had their Nashville moment, they were gone.
They were gone. Yeah.
They went to Fido together.
Mhm.
They went to Fido.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yep.
so the whole thing is that this is about Jake Gyllenhaal when they dated for fucking 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, it was like,
Not to discount, hey, you can have very torrid love affairs within 2 weeks or whatever.
True.
But this is a 3-month relationship, and it has turned into a scathing indictment on Jake Gyllenhaal from a relationship that happened 15 years ago, something like
a
that.
long time ago for sure.
Okay. And people, especially Taylor Swift fans are like really have some vitriol against this dude, because there's a line in there where he keeps her scarf that she left at Maggie Gyllenhaal's house for like swear to God, a holiday party. He still has the fucking scarf. The whole scarf has turned into a thing. But the video itself, the short film itself, directed, starring, featuring Taylor Swift, quite good. Quite good. The song's all right. Video's very good. The performances, especially by Sadie Sink, are really, really good. I would encourage you to watch it. It's on YouTube. Song is fun. That's all I have to say about that.
I dated a girl once when I was 22.
Yeah.
And she had a really good job, and I was unemployed at the time. I was moving. That's why I was unemployed.
Yeah, sure.
And she gave me her gas card.
Oh.
To get gas, but also to buy snacks at the gas station until I found a job. And we broke up 3 months later. And she was mad at me because she said I knew we were going to break up a week before we broke up, but I kept using the gas card that whole week.
Mm-hmm. That was your red scarf.
I'm just saying I can relate. I didn't know we were going to break up that whole week. It was quite devastating, to be honest. I don't know. I can relate. Also,
what's the beef here? What's the beef? She was ready to move on a week before you broke up, but you weren't. So you weren't in the wrong for using that
No,
card.
I don't believe I was.
It's not like you were just I'm going to get a fucking 15-pack of Natty Light now.
No.
Because I've got the fucking gas card. The relationship's over.
We had plans. She lived in Nashville. I lived in Chattanooga. If she's listening, I'll send you a check.
I'll give you your goddamn money.
We had plans for Sunday in Nashville, and she didn't answer the phone all week when I would call. And I guess that's how I should have known we were going to break up. I don't know. Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, she was pulling the George Costanza, not talking to you before the ball.
There you go. You can't say no if you don't say anything.
Believe it or not, George is in it.
Just leave a message at the beep.
Chris, you got another recommend or warn?
Were you first on this though, on the cycle?
I was.
You were Attica.
All right, I'll go. I'm going to save another recommend for the future because I really don't want everything to be good in this section. Look, there are times, it's rare, but there are times when I flip through the movie channels, I just don't want to watch anything on there. There's either nothing I haven't seen or there's nothing I've seen that I want to watch again, right? It's not like The Untouchables is on. If that's on, I'll watch it even if I watched it yesterday. But this was 2-3 days ago. Flip it around and it's shit like Basic. John Travolta.
I had that exact same.
Nice.
And it was literally all the movie channels that I have were full of that kind of shit where I've seen it. I probably watched it again on HBO at one point. I don't need to go back to that. Flipping. I just need something on while I drink my coffee and wake up. And I end up on Here Comes the Boom.
Ready or not?
Now listen. I like Kevin James. I like Kevin James more than you do. I have not sought out very many of his recent movies. Like, I actually have seen both the Paul Blart.
You saw Becky though. That was
Becky is completely
atypical.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
But I like him in Hitch more than a lot of people, even though that movie is problematic for me. But I would never have watched this if Untouchables had been on one of these channels, or Hunt for Red October, or Dark Knight, or The Matrix. Instead, I got like Basic.
Yeah.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid 9.
Right.
There's nothing. So I leave it on this movie, and as happens every time, I want to know how it ends. So I keep watching it, even though it's obvious how it's going to end from the start. Have either of you seen this movie?
No.
That's all right. Good for you. It's like a 40-something on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not good. I kind of want to record it because I see another movie in here that would have been great. Like, you remember when they almost made Cable Guy with Chris Farley and how different of a tone that would have been? Much more slapstick and less sinister, right? And I'm not saying this is the exact same kind of tone, but Kevin James in a movie about a teacher who starts MMA fighting to raise money for the music department at his school, he guarantees you are going to lean into the silly. There are moments in here that make me want to see this movie almost exactly as it is, but with either Ryan Reynolds or Jason Bateman in the lead. Because a lot of the moments are screaming for their kind of humor. There's a moment at the very, very end. He's fought all along. Of course, Kevin James is not believable as an MMA fighter. That's also humor.
What?
But he finally gets to UFC to fight an actual UFC bout against a known previous champion badass guy. And he goes out there for the first round and just gets destroyed and comes back to his corner. And he says the dialogue, but he doesn't say it the right way. Because he says, oh, he's good. He's so good. And it's screaming for Ryan Reynolds to do like, he's so good. He's so good. Everything you taught me, he's better at than me. He's so good.
Yeah.
But Kevin James doesn't deliver it that way. Ryan Reynolds' body would look better in an MMA movie.
Yeah, it would.
Henry Winkler is the music teacher. He's perfect. He can stay. He's the music teacher and like the hype man every time dude fights. And I also think you could double feature this with Warrior, because both of them feature a teacher who's moonlighting as an MMA fighter and the school doesn't want him to do it.
Oh, is it Edgerton or is it Tom Hardy is the...
Yeah, it's both Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton.
Oh, yeah.
But Edgerton is the one who's the teacher.
Yeah.
So I can't recommend this movie. I don't think you're going to laugh very much. It made me smile a few times because I like Henry Winkler and I like Kevin James. It's formulaic as all hell. It's nonsensical. But there's something in there. There's another movie in there. And I wish they'd gone like maybe even an R-rated, like Jason Bateman did with Bad Words, and just kind of, I don't know. There's another movie in there that I think would have been awesome.
It was almost marketed like another movie. It was marketed a little less slapsticky than you would think. It had those beats of like, oh, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this as a serious type of thing. And then you had like some hijinks in there. So yeah, I could see that. But
now they're on their way to a fight. Henry Winkler's driving. Kevin James gets hungry. And Henry Winkler says, I got some applesauce back there. I made some earlier. So the trainer who's in the back hands forward this container, and Kevin James eats the applesauce, and he goes on to his fight. He wins. It's the first time he's won. And he's standing over the guy he just beat, and he pukes on him repeatedly. And then it cuts to the car on the drive home, and he goes, "Who leaves applesauce sitting in the back window all day long in the sun?" That's the kind of movie this is.
Nah.
But you give me a pen and Ryan Reynolds, commitment from Ryan Reynolds, I will remake this. It'll be good.
Done.
It'd be very good.
Henry Winkler's back in.
Henry Winkler. It'd be like Penelope Cruz playing, the same role in Vanilla Scott.
I like where Henry Winkler is taking his career post Happy Days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
by the way,
he's just stuck and moved in really, really good ways.
Yep. He's in French Dispatch as well.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm. It's not a big role, but he's in it. He and Bob Balaban play like brothers who are part of the company Adrian Brody is a part of, and their art sales, whatever.
He's got chops, man. He rightfully so. I think he's won at least 1 or 2 Emmys for Barry, and he is every bit as great as Bill Hader in the role that they are assigned in that show.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm going to recommend with caveats.
Ooh.
This is not I don't want to put a warn label on this. So
Caveat amend.
Yeah. Requiat.
Yes. It sounds like a painting that you'd see in the Sistine Chapel.
Right.
Requiat.
Right.
That's a Requiat right there.
Last Night in Soho.
Ooh, la lee, la loo.
I have, now that Edgar Wright has come out with, what is it, 6 movies? 6 like major movies. Like he did the Cornetto trilogy, and he did Scott Pilgrim, and he did Baby Driver, and this. And I enjoyed 2/3 of that Cornetto trilogy. Did not like that At World's End or The World's End, whatever it's called. I liked parts of Baby Driver. Didn't like how it ended. I didn't like the whole ending part of that movie. Scott Pilgrim is awesome. This movie is, I feel like, great for a really long time. In fact, I was like, I can't wait to tell people about how great this movie is. And then it sort of devolves for me, and I don't know if that's just me as a watcher going, I don't like how this movie is going now. There has to be a resolution to what's going on. You've seen the trailer, and the resolution is going to be satisfying for some. It's not I don't think it's spoilery to say that the resolution is not something that's just something completely fucking out there. But if you remember the trailers for Last Night in Soho, you'll see that Thomas and Mackenzie is going around like 1960s London, and when she looks in the mirror, she sees Anya Taylor-Joy, and of course in the trailer you're sitting there going, well, what the fuck is that? What is that all about?
The fuck?
Is she Anya Taylor-Joy? Is Anya Taylor-Joy Thomas and Mackenzie really? I guess you could probably still infer that if you wanted to in some small way. But she is an art student who is going to the big city for the first time. She obviously has actually an art. She's a hopeful fashion designer is what she is. And she's going to this London School of Design or whatever it's called. And when she gets there, she is immediately, of course, an outcast because all the people who are there are big city types and she's a country type. And so she's immediately uncomfortable in her surroundings and decides, you know what? I don't want to live in this dorm with this awful person that they've got me to room with. I am going to find this like apartment somewhere else. And she goes to this apartment building. The person who runs the place is Diana Rigg. The late Diana Rigg is the landlord of this place. And she finds this place. It's kind of cheap, but she still has to do a lot of work. Like she has to find a job to keep in an apartment like this. And when she goes to sleep at night, that's when she is transported into this other time, these 1960s. And she sort of follows along with Anya Taylor-Joy, and Anya Taylor-Joy is a wannabe singer. She goes into this club, where like the best of the best are are singing, and she says, I'm going to be up on that stage this Friday. I guarantee you that's what I'm going to be doing. And so she is told through all these channels, you need to go and meet this guy. And this guy is it Matthew Smith is his name? Yeah, Matt Smith. Through him, he is like, all right, I'm gonna put you on the fast track. I'm gonna get you an audition. And if you are in any way familiar with how things worked back in these days, long before the Me Too movement and all of this, this isn't going to go along a good path for Anya Taylor-Joy at all. Despite all of her her confidence and the fact that she goes up and sings that version of Downtown, which is so good. I think that's actually her singing Downtown.
So.
They had a music video that came out with her singing it, and that's basically what's in the scene. And you're like, oh yeah, exactly, she's going to be a star. Of course, every one of these moments end with Thomas and Mackenzie waking up in her bed at 8:00 and not knowing what exactly she's seen. And she starts to sort of eschew like real life for a while. Like there's a guy who's interested in her at the design school, but she's kind of putting him off because she wants to go back home and go to sleep and enter this new world every single night. But the more and more she enters this world, the more she realizes Anya Taylor-Joy's life has started to become bad, because she got this audition, but the first job that you see her in, she's in this like, I don't know if you would call it. It's definitely a demeaning kind of strip. It's not a strip show, but it's like the thing that's just above that, like where they dress you up in like, these really demeaning outfits. The song that the main singer singing is something about being a puppet and letting men control you and all this other type of stuff, while nothing but men watch in the audience and everything. And it gets worse and worse and worse the more she goes into this. And then she starts thinking, maybe this person existed. Maybe this stuff actually happened back in the 1960s. And I'll stop there.
Ooh.
As it gets to its resolution, it may be a function of, I just don't like how this story ends up. I don't like the whole resolution to it. It makes sense, and I think it's going to be satisfying for many where this story goes, because it makes sense in what they've presented the entire time, but it doesn't have that same magic. I know he wants to get into the horror movie aspect of this, but there's moments where this movie gets loud and fucking just like it's just too much going on at once on the screen, and it becomes like a modern. It's different from most horror movies, but it's also got some of the same sort of staples as other horror movies that you've seen. Even though it's Edgar Wright behind the camera, there's still a lot of stuff that just kind of devolves into that. We've seen this before. And I understand, the point of this is that it's not a fairy tale and everything, and he wants to tell a horror movie. But man, when you're going through that you've seen it in the trailer, when she's walking across the street and there's that big, huge marquee with Goldfinger on it and all that. And she's going through all these places. Oh, it's such a magical fucking movie for such a long time. And then it has to get to its ugly business, which is fine, but I don't know if I liked how it ends up getting there. Like when it gets to the third act, I'm like, all that stuff that I was really enjoying, now we're devolved into this big, you know, it's a big loud horror movie type of thing. So that's why I recommend with caveats, because I think it's good. It's just that I think it peters out. Diana Rigg, obviously a legend, awesome in this movie. Terrence Stamp has a character in this movie. He's always great.
With that. Yeah.
He's always great. Matt Smith is fucking menacing in this. Obviously, he's pretty much trash, but he's great. And of course, I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I've been saying that for a while now. So, and of course, Thomasin McKenzie, who's the new kid on the block, who's in everything recently.
She's killing it, man. She's
awesome.
Good. She's really, really,
I was
really
thinking
good.
at the end of the movie, maybe we find out that they were both Elle Fanning all along.
Yep. I was thinking
spoilers,
the same
man.
thing.
Fuck.
Same
God.
thing.
Okay, guys. Okay, I'll come clean since Jeremy guessed it. They're both Elle Fanning at the end.
It's funny, Anya Taylor-Joy pretty much debuted. She may have done something before that, but with Split was her
The
big
Witch.
kind of The Witch. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I mean, Split was her first
You're
big
right.
movie for sure.
Split. You're right. I think more people saw Split than The Witch, but you're right. But it seemed like, she was great in The Witch, The Witch. She's very good in Split, but I don't think she's asked to do much in Split.
Not
a
really.
Weird thing it's James McAvoy's movie,
Mm-hmm.
and so based on those two performances, and she's not really asked to do a whole lot in The Vivitch. That's more of like basically Dave Eggers doing his thing.
The Vivitch is Black Phillip's movie.
It is Black Phillip's
That's
movie.
true. That's true.
So
I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't really become a star until Queen's Gambit comes out.
I agree. And when she does, I mean, my God, she has all the talent in the world. I'm just saying that when she first started, I personally didn't know if she had all that stuff in her. Thomasin McKenzie, on the other hand, from what I saw, Jojo Rabbit was the first thing I saw her in.
Yeah.
And she was electric in that. And she's just continued that arc.
She would have been
all the way
great
through.
in Old if they'd have given her anything to do and that movie wasn't horse garbage.
Horse garbage.
I hated that movie so much.
Oh, that movie.
Wring a teddy bear's neck.
That will make you wring a teddy bear's neck.
But you know what? That's not her fault. That's like Natalie Portman in the Star Wars prequels. That's just a director who doesn't use a talent.
Exactly. He's got a lot of talent that he wastes in that movie.
Yes, he does.
Overall. Do you feel like there's some Edgar Wrightisms in this film? Like, he's essentially, even in Baby Driver, like he's still got his style.
I think there are. There's definitely, like, I think his style works better for comedies than it does for this film nerd thing that he's doing with Baby Driver and Last Night in Soho. When he, like I said, that image of her walking across the street with that big marquee is such a Quentin Tarantino thing. Like, it fits in, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something like that. But I don't know if Edgar Wright is good at the film nerd type stuff. I mean, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. And he is great at it, but I think he made this movie with a specific vision in mind. It just didn't connect to me by the end of it. Like, it was great. Like I said, it was great for 2/3 of it. Where I was just so involved in it, and I was ready to come out and get on Slack and be like, this is the best fucking movie I've seen all year. And then all that stuff at the end, like that, I'm sure there are a lot of film nerdy horror movie stuff that he's like emulating in this, that some stuff that we've never seen before because he's got that kind of a film knowledge and everything. But man, the last 30 minutes is loud and fucking edited all over the place to me. And
Well, hey, look at Baby Driver. Baby Driver was amazing for the first probably 2/3.
same thing.
Exactly like Basic.
It's exactly
It's just
like Basic.
like fucking Basic. It always comes back to that.
Baby Driver, man, starts off so amazingly that it just cannot get out of its own way. It's top heavy,
Yeah.
like Dolly Parton. It topples over itself.
That's right. Very Dolly Parton-y. That
Very
Baby
Dolly
Driver.
Parton-y.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm gonna watch this with some lowered expectations, which
Well, and
will probably make it good for me.
I think that's going to help me the next time I watch it too. I'm sure I will find some things in it that are be like, okay, yeah, I see now where he's been building to this the whole time. I mean, the story itself, it's there's nothing that I'm like not understanding about it. It's just that it's a different movie by the time it gets to that point. So, So anyway, there you go. That's what he said. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna finish this up with a Recca Warn, and it's the Recca Warniest Recca Warn to ever Recca Warn. It's Greenland, folks. It's Greenland.
Oh,
it's
no, Greenland.
Yes,
I've heard this up a few times privately.
Oh, this is a Mad Libs of disaster movies. This is it's like take Gerard Butler, and you put him in. You put him in a southern city, right?
It's already wild.
Yeah. And you say, all right, he's going to be a structural engineer. Does that have anything to do with the plot? Nope.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be married, but on the rocks with Morena Baccarin. Okay.
Ah, nice.
Right. Does that have anything to do with the plot? No.
I'll take Morena Baccarin on the rocks.
Absolutely.
He's going to have a son, but that son is diabetic.
Oh.
Does that have anything to do with the plot?
Probably not.
There's not
You know
there's not a single insulin panic in the whole movie.
Okay, that has a little bit to do with the plot, but not really overall.
Okay.
I mean, it's better than the staple of asthma that always fucking happens.
It's like gotta be Emmerich produced, right?
The kid has asthma.
It has nothing to do with Roland Emmerich because he was busy with Moonfall.
Well, it's following his playbook.
Absolutely. This movie is pretty horrible. There's a comet that's headed to Earth, but it's not supposed to hit Earth. It's going by. It's one of those comets that bounces off the atmosphere. We all freak out for about half a second, and then you're all good. Except this one does hit, and it hits Tampa.
I'm okay with that.
Fuck you, Tampa.
Movie begins with the comet hitting Tampa, like part of it, not the whole thing. The whole thing is going to be an extinction level event, and Ellie is what's her name that dated Alan said, Anne Heche in Deep Impact. It's an Ellie. So the biggin is going to hit the Earth in like, I don't know, 24 hours or something like that. Somehow Gerard Butler and his family, who was broken but now they're galvanized, has to escape into the caves of Greenland, roll credits, where they've dug out the stereotypical like survival caves for everything.
Greenland, the
country. The country, yes.
Okay, I thought maybe it was like Greenland, Alabama.
They have to make it from Atlanta or some southern city. I don't even know. He's maybe in Atlanta, maybe Tampa. He gets knocked over by a bunch of shockwaves. It's fucked up. But he has to get from that place all the way to Canada, where the Canadians are going to fly him over to Greenland, all within fucking like 24 hours. In the meantime, everybody gets separated. People get kidnapped. Fucking Roy from The Office kidnaps the diabetic kid, along with Hope Davis. They kidnap him for like maybe 30 seconds, and then they're
What are they kidnapping kids for?
He's got a bracelet because Gerard and his broken family were invited to go to the caves. Does that have anything to do with the plot? No. Those bracelets are immediately forgotten. And so he's got to make his own way to Canada.
Imagine what this movie would be without the disaster.
Exactly. And meanwhile, the little bits of the Hale Bopp comet are coming off and they're blowing shit up and everything. The effects are horrible in this. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go up and they have to stop in Lexington, Kentucky to refuel and everybody get together. And who's there? Marina Baccarin's father, Sudden Scott Glenn.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Looking grizzled as ever, probably.
He's grizzled. He wears like fucking cut off t-shirts and swigs Bud Light, and he looks.
Is there a point where he says to the comet, "If that bastard so much as twitches, I'm going to blow it to Mars"?
Probably.
Damn.
Scott Glenn says, "You know what? I'm not coming with you because I'm ready to die." And that's all you see of Scott Glenn.
I'm tired of people like that.
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck it. This is my house. The comet can come after me, bitch. This is my house."
So dumb. It's so dumb.
So they leave him and they go up to Canada to get to Greenland. I'm not going to spoil to tell you whether or not they get to Greenland. You got to watch it yourself. But this movie is every disaster movie put into one movie, and Gerard Butler being Gerard Butler, and it's enjoyably terrible. And I would warn it, especially if you like disaster movies like I do. It's a little bit of a twisty take because they really just threw in everything they could. They were like, okay, so he's got a kid. Let's make him have a disease. Asthma? No, asthma's off the table. Diabetes? Okay, let's do that.
Diabetes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Is there a car that won't start?
There are many cars that won't start.
Yeah.
I bet they make it though, because I saw a headline that they're making a sequel. So,
well, who makes it though?
I don't know, but also, is the future just a bunch of different meteors, and every time we have to go to Greenland? Like, that just seems odd.
No, it's just the one. It's just the one.
The idea is because the impact is going to impact the rest of the United States, right? Like nearly all the United States, probably, right? And Greenland's as far as the entire world. So is Greenland the safe place, though?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's an extinction level event on par with the dinosaurs. Like it's going to affect the entire world. So if they don't get to Greenland, they're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the sequel is going to be about surviving a nuclear winter.
Yeah,
that sounds bleak.
Could be.
Yeah,
could be.
Yeah, is there some geostorm in this movie too?
No, I wish.
Because I guess Gerard Butler could count as the element of geostorm that's in this movie.
I'll tell you what, it's better than Geostorm.
Yeah, almost everything
is. Then sold me there.
Yeah.
It's a fun. I think we should have Gerard Butler on the show at this point because we've talked about so many of his movies. I'm just gonna ring him up. I'm just gonna figure out his phone.
Yo, Jerry,
his telly.
What's up?
Yeah, and he probably lives in Nashville. And I'll be like, hey, you want to come over and do this thing? And he'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That's my Scottish accent.
Oh man.
Oh man. Jesus.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
All right, let me go over all the stuff we recommended and warned. Jeremy recommended Attica. It's a documentary on Showtime. If you got the Hulu extension for Showtime, you can watch it on Hulu as well. He warned, "Here comes the boom." He's
boy, really polar opposites here.
That's right. He would like to tell Kevin James that he would have rather had Ryan Reynolds in this.
Let's bring him on the show. Bring them both.
That's right. We should have them both on the show. I recommended The French Dispatch, the new Wes Anderson movie, and I also recommended with caveats Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's new movie. Barrett recommended the Taylor Swift short film for All Too Well, which is putting Jake Gyllenhaal in his place once and for all.
It's about goddamn time.
That's right. That motherfucker.
That fucking motherfucker.
That's right. And then he warned Greenland, a disaster film starring Gerard Butler. Do we want to do questions at all, or do we want to call this one?
I'll do a question.
Do you want to do a question?
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I'm listening.
All right, let's do this. All right, here's the first question. What is the best third movie in a franchise? This person's pick would be a very good one, The Bourne Ultimatum. Very nice. What do you guys think?
You know, it's interesting, you know, this question is, you know, precisely framed where you're not looking for what the, like, there's sometimes you have to come up with the very best of like, well, I don't know. It's like this question, I feel like we've been somewhat asked this before, but I feel like this is framed in a way that I can answer it in a good way. So I'm going to go with Return of the Jedi on this one. Bourne Ultimatum is, I think, a clear one of the best thirds that you can ever come up with. You can also probably come up with, I don't think if you can cut me off, I don't think anybody said John Wick 3, by the way. On this.
No, that's a great one.
So I probably should change it
so far.
I probably should change it to John Wick 3 and say, but I will talk about Return of the Jedi because I think one of the things we do when we look back at this old Star Wars trilogy is we say, well, Empire Strikes Back is so much better. Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars that I saw in theaters, at least I think for a while before I got sick and my whole family had to leave. But Return of the Jedi has a lot of that cuteness that we would start hating in a lot of George Lucas stuff that would come after in his new Star Wars movies and things like that. The Ewoks aren't that bad. I mean, I
like Ewoks. I have a dog named after an Ewok.
Yeah, the Ewoks are, you know, look, that's one that, I mean, if there was anything that you wanted to really attack on Return of the Jedi, it's the fact that they fucking have to use the goddamn Death Star again. And it's like, can we come up with just one new thing and it like permeated until the other Star Wars came out? They were like, let's find new and interesting ways to make more Death Star shit. And so like there is that, but I mean that whole thing with Luke and Vader and the Emperor at the end, that's really good. I think the fight on the Endor is awesome. Is it Endor? And I do like the battle and the Death Star. I just wish it was a different fucking thing they had to kill this time. Because I love how it keeps crossing to those three stories all the way through it. I think it's actually really well done. We just don't give it much credit because of how great Empire Strikes Back is. So yeah. But yeah, I would probably say John Wick 3 is probably the best.
Honestly, Lucas has always been good at that. Like the end of Phantom Menace does the same thing. There's like the lightsaber fight, and then there's Natalie Portman's entourage, and then there's the kid in the ship that flies out to space and he starts battling.
What does this do?
You're right.
I mean, I think the end of Matrix Revolutions is an homage to George Lucas because it's got three main climaxes that it keeps cutting between. And some are intimate and some are big scale. I like this pick. I always liked Return of the Jedi more than most. But yeah, that's a good pick.
I like that Lando blows up that shit too. It's not Han, it's not Luke, it's not Leia. Lando gets in there and gets shit done.
I mean, it's Chewie's in there. No, Chewie's on the surface. Yeah, it's just Lando.
Yeah. Well, it's Lando in the
the dude from Battlestar Galactica.
I misread the question, so the only answer I have prepared is what are you laughing at?
And I mean, it's something completely dumb, but it works. I mean, I was just saying that Lando is on that that ship with who that dude from Battlestar Galactica. But it's actually I was thinking of another like 60s, 70s sci-fi show, Buck Rogers, I believe, which has that beady.
I remember that guy.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Logan.
So you're talking about like a Wolverine trilogy here.
Yeah, if you consider
I gotcha.
the Wolverine films a trilogy, maybe you don't.
It's definitely the best movie of that entire 3 movies.
By virtue of the first 2 being pretty fucking bad. So, yeah, I would say Bourne Ultimatum. The question asker stole that one. Nice one, guy. So yeah, Logan. I think Logan counts. That movie's awesome. I need to watch that movie again though because it's been a couple of years.
I actually don't know this. Are those canon? Like are those X-Men? What was the first one? The first one was X-Men's Origins Wolverine.
Then there was just the Wolverine.
Then there was the Wolverine. Are those all connected with the X-Men canon?
Yes.
Fox movies?
Yes.
Those
and
are
also James Mangold directed Logan, and he directed one of the other Wolverine movies.
I see.
I think it was X-Men Origins Wolverine that he did, or maybe it was I can't remember which one he did, but he was part of.
I think he was
2
the
of those.
Wolverine. Yeah. But those are, even Logan is considered within that Patrick Stewart X-Men timeline.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. It's just that it's way further in the future and everything.
Yeah. I gotcha. Interesting.
It was the Wolverine.
I teed up Beyond for you, by the way, and you're not taking Beyond, but that's
cheating.
Think
Beyond is the best of that trilogy. I think the first one is. Yeah. But I like Beyond is right up there with it.
Well, it's the best third film in a franchise. So, but I get what you're saying.
I see. So I could have chosen something that had 2 shit films if the third one was good.
No, all 3 could be good.
Which I guess I actually did do that.
Yeah, you did fine.
I continue to misunderstand the question. Let's move on.
I know. I think you can interpret this question that way, and it totally works.
Yeah.
Because those are 3 standalone Wolverine films, and just so because Logan happens to have Jean-Luc Picard in it doesn't mean that that it's outside of that trilogy in any way. So
yeah. I wrote down a bunch, but the best one to me is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's the best third film, because when I think about third films, I think about all the misses. I think about Spider-Man 3. I think about Dark Knight Rises.
Godfather 3.
Godfather 3, yep. Absolutely. We all
3 Fast, 3 Furious.
3 Fast, 3 Furious. Tokyo Fast and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I immediately thought of all the misses, and I was like, wow, there's nothing in there. And then I was like, oh, Last Crusade is awesome. I don't remember how this went. I know that I saw not these in reverse order. I saw Last Crusade first, and then I saw Raiders, and then I saw Temple of Doom. Did you guys have the same experience, or was it
that was
backwards?
My exact same experience?
Yeah, I saw them in order because I saw Raiders and then Temple, and then I don't remember watching those movies before watching Last Crusade. I'm just pretty sure that I saw those movies before. If I didn't, it would have been something similar to what you're talking about, where I saw Last Crusade first and then went back and saw Raiders and Temple of Doom. But yeah, Last Crusade is fan-fucking-tastic.
It's so good. I mean, this is where this is the quintessential Indiana Jones movie. Now, Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can't beat how in his prime Harrison Ford was, and how in her prime Karen Allen was, and how he really just Spielberg and Lucas just took that character almost right out of a comic book, and not in a superhero way, just this adventure comic book into the screen, and really captured all that essence. But I think he did the same with Last Crusade, with a little more texture. He did get a little into the metaphysical religious stuff with the whole Crusade Knight Holy Grail thing at the end. It works on a level that is the polar opposite of the Crystal Skull. I think because of Last Crusade, him getting away with that kind of magical stuff, it was like, hey, maybe we can do aliens now. And people will buy it.
Everything's on the table.
Well, every one of those movies had some sort of supernatural
For sure.
to
Yeah.
them.
I mean, I had a guy, Hum Num Shabum.
And I think that's exactly why the alien shit doesn't work in the fourth one, is because there's all the other stuff had some sort of, like it felt like that it felt relatable in some way. And when he threw aliens into that fourth one, it was just like, you're just trying to go back to Aliens after doing Close Encounters and E.T. and War of the Worlds and all this bullshit. And like, can you not bring it back to Aliens just this once? Can we just have normal fucking artifacts that give people powers?
No
and shit?
aliens, Steven. You're
Not that
aliens.
it made that movie any better, by the way. I mean, look, like the aliens thing is far from the worst thing about Crystal Skull, even though that's what people always go back to.
And I love, listen, the interplay between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery is absolutely dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they fuck the same lady.
Yeah.
So great. It's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an underrated,
Talk about
I
an
fucked your dad.
early crush.
Elsa.
Yeah.
Elsa. Yeah. Allison Duty, her name.
Yeah. She bit Hal's lip right there, man. She just fucking latched onto that thing like a piranha. God bless her.
I always wondered what would have happened, though, by the way, if Indiana Jones had enough reach and let her get the cup while it was down in the chasm. What would have happened? Like, would the whole Earth continue to split if they had started running out? Because it makes it seem like it's just that building, and they had a chance there.
Yeah.
But then he just often throws her into the chasm because
it's funny because
he fucking murders her. Man.
Well, he's right there, and isn't it Sean Connery's like, Indiana? Like he does it so quietly in the middle of all this shit, and all of a sudden it's like Indiana. Previously,
but that's important because he doesn't like calling him Indiana. That's like using his. It's like my mom using all three of my names. Like that's how he knows.
He's like, this shit's going down. He's calling me by a state.
And we had that up and coming River Phoenix in this movie too.
Oh, I love the beginning of this fucking movie so much, man. It's so good.
Yeah, I love when he says it belongs in a museum.
Yeah,
it's so Harrison Ford like.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Fucking Last Crusade is as good as it gets as far as third chapters go.
It really is, and it was hard to stick that landing. And you could say that Temple of Doom. I know it was a commercial success, and I know people still love it. It is definitely my least favorite of that trilogy, and I think it loses its way a little bit from the character. But Last Crusade gets it right back together, and it's gorgeous.
Okay, well. That's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter, Discord, and SoundCloud. That's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Holla!
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
She was like, well, what is this? I'm like, it's Chinatown. And she was like, what's Chinatown? And I was like, the fuck? It's Chinatown. And she's like, well, what's it about? And I was like, well, it's Jack Nicholson. He's a private eye, and he's investigating, this lady with the serial cheating and stuff like that. And it's what's her name? And it's fucking God damn it. Who is the woman in Chinatown?
Faye Dunaway?
Faye Dunaway. It's Faye Dunaway, and she likes to fuck. And then it's John Huston, and it's the water, and it's all this stuff. And he comes up in this major conspiracy, and then it's the sister and the daughter and the smacking. And she's like, never heard of it. I was like, fucking, are you serious? It's about incest. Okay.
It's about incest, by the way.
That's all it is.
I think it was one of the first shows, by the way, to have a trans actor on it.
Really?
Because he, the whole premise of that show is he's a male prostitute.
He's just a gigolo, and there's nowhere to go. Hey, what's the, besides Whiplash, what is the movie that pops into your head when I say Miles Teller?
Only the Brave. But only because
But you've seen that a million times, right?
15, 20 times, yeah.
I'm trying to think. He's in that new Taylor Swift video that I'm sending right now. And I've already called him Whiplash. I think I called him War Dogs at one point. And I'm going to go with Fantastic Four.
War Dogs is a good one for him.
That movie with Shailene Woodley where he drinks all the time I told you about.
What was that one?
The Perks of Being a Drunk High Schooler.
Shailene's with Aaron Rodgers, right? So that's how they met, because they went to Hawaii together, right?
Well, that's how who met.
There was a picture on the off season of Aaron Rodgers, Shailene, and Miles Teller, who was famously unvaccinated.
Aaron
Rodgers, now we know, was unvaccinated and broke the law to go to Hawaii for vacation.
Hey, he said he was immunized.
There you go.
Like it actually has an awesome ending, but that takes an hour and 15 minutes to get to.
Plus, they touched the green space goo. God damn.
Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, the other people are going to get the glory. Let's do it ourselves and touch the space goo.
Let's touch the space goo like a bunch of
who all was
idiots.
It was Michael B. Jordan was in that, right?
Kate Mara,
and
her now husband, Jamie Bell. Hey, I didn't call him Billy Elliot.
Oh, there you go.
Dean. As they say in Ireland, Dean.